And we talked about Joe Manchin yesterday and how he's not going to support the John Lewis Act to stop this voter suppression that's going on across the country. And then mainly, he is not in favor of taking care of getting rid of the filibuster. And there are a lot of people that are coming out and speaking against them. One being a former colleague of mine at ESPN, Jemele Hill, who put up a tweet that started going viral yesterday. And today he is supposed to meet with some black leaders, one of them being Reverend Al Sharpton, Mark Morial, and of course the president of the NAACP, Derek Johnson, as well. So they're going to have like a cyber meeting with him, maybe to hopefully try and get him to think about what he isn't doing. Because the fact that he isn't taking care of this and getting rid of this, he is basically, in a sense, complicit with the Republicans, if you look at it, when it comes to all the voter suppression across the nation. So, I mean, you're there in D.C. You know what kind of person Joe Manchin is. Do you think it'll work?
So here's what I think Joe Manchin is representing. I think that he is looking at it as if, you know, folks are going across the aisle and shaking hands these days. When we know what's happening in Republican-led states with voting rights, we know what's happening behind closed doors. They are not looking to come together. And so I think that he's thinking of the old Senate. We talked a little bit about that yesterday. Manchin said that H.R. 1, the For the People Act, is too partisan. So he thinks it's going to divide the country even more. Well, here's the reality. Right. The country is feeling division. Okay, we can't get away from that. What he is in favor of, and this is where he's saying actually he is in favor of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, thinks that maybe we can expand that. But the For the People Act is fighting voter suppression at a larger level, and it's looking at it with some federal oversight. So he's basically looking at doing something on a smaller level than what's being proposed and what's being backed by so many Democrats. He is a pivotal vote. He also has a lot of influence.
Yeah, I mean, a pivotal vote, and he knows he's got that power. And Jemele Hill, like I said, she put up a tweet. She's now with the Atlantic, great writer, wonderful person. You know who she is. I know her as a person. She said, This is so on brand for this country. Record number of black voters show up to save this democracy, only for white supremacy to be upheld by a cowardly, power-hungry white dude. Senator Joe Manchin is a clown. Now, here's what people got upset about, because you see white supremacy and Joe Manchin in the same sentence. You think, okay, she's calling him a white supremacist. Let's put that tweet back up there and let's dissect it again, because she wasn't calling Joe Manchin a white supremacist, but what he is basically doing is upholding white supremacy. And when you think about white supremacy, what is happening right now when you talk about the GOP and what's happening in those 48 states and what's happening with all these bills that they're trying to enact in these states to suppress the black and brown vote. Once again, they're not taking your vote away, but they're suppressing the vote. They're making it harder for black and brown people to vote. So when you talk about that, once again, record number of black voters, white supremacy being upheld by this, by him not supporting the John Lewis Act or the H.R. 1 and also the filibuster, when he knows that the Republicans aren't trying to have a united country because they care just about themselves in 2022 and 2024 than anything else that the Democrats are trying to achieve in this country. He is being complicit. So where are the lies in that tweet? Right. That is my question.
Right, and we've seen her get unfairly attacked, you know, repeatedly.
Exactly. So that's what I'm asking. So when people come out and they want to attack Jemele Hill and they want to, there is no lie there. It's basically, if you're talking about it, Barack Obama's talked about when it comes to filibustering and what it's meant to this country. If you look at the research between 1917 and 1994, they had 30 laws that were enacted where it was filibustered, from what I saw in the research. Half of those involved Civil Rights Act when it came to it could be anything from anti-lynching bills, voting right bills, housing discrimination bills, whatever. So this filibuster basically has been enacted, and it has been wrapped around white supremacy and Jim Crow laws for years. As a matter of fact, Barack Obama actually called it a relic of Jim Crow not too long ago. So when you think about that, and he's not for that, and he knows that the Republicans are trying to suppress the black and brown vote, even though he knows he's in a state that is mostly Republican. He's hanging on by a thread as a Democrat. I think he's the only elected, really, Democrat in that state of West Virginia, I do believe. I can't remember or not, especially when it comes to the Senate, obviously. He's holding on by a thread there. And I know he's got to worry about his own election or whatever, but at the same time, he's got to worry about this country more so than he's got to worry about his own behind. And right now, Joe Manchin, people like Kristen Sinema, they're not doing that. And it's going to affect the Democrats, and it's going to affect this democracy in 2022 unless he gets on board. And in order for him to get on board, we got to put the pressure on him, like the black civil rights leaders are doing right now. Kamala Harris I know she's going to start talking to the senators and try and do her part because she's in charge of that. But it's up to Joe Biden to take a page out of the Donald Trump handbook right now, to be honest with you.
You know,
and I know he called them out a little bit. But I think it's time for him to, Go ahead.
Yeah, you know, I think he has. And I think that a lot of folks are saying, look, we may not have this opportunity to have control of Congress the way we do right now. This is not going to be, and honestly, they probably won't have. Democrats won't keep their hold in Congress in both houses. So, you know, this is a time thing, too. So with Joe Manchin blocking this and being the roadblock, so to speak, it's something that would impact going forward for many years because we don't know if we're going to have this type of power within the House and Senate.